Hi guys, and welcome to one of my most requested videos, and that is how to find work in Spain and, well, in extension, what types of jobs you will find here. I live in the Costa del Sol and Malaga area, so this video will mostly be about this area, but it is in part representative of other areas in Spain as well. In this video, I will cover the different types of jobs you will find here, the language requirements, such as which jobs require Spanish and which don't, and then I will share the experience I have gathered myself working here and give you the best advice I have. And if you're wondering, well, who are you? Then I can add that I have lived 4 years here in Spain, and although I currently employ myself for the most part, I have worked for different companies in Spain, and on top of that, I currently work in the recruitment space. I also have to say welcome to my channel. If you are new here, you are very welcome to subscribe and join the community. I make videos about living in wonderful Spain. Make sure to watch till the end of the video, as I will mention a few things that you absolutely have to watch out for when working in Spain to avoid getting, well, screwed over, excuse my French. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it. So, I would like to divide the job market into two main categories. On the one hand, we have the service sector jobs, and on the other hand, we have the office jobs. So by service sector, I am referring to restaurants, hotels, tourism, etc. And this could, for example, be working as a server at a restaurant. Here it is worth noting that the salaries are quite low, probably minimum wage in many cases, and tipping is not necessarily going to give you much extra in terms of cash. There's probably going to be someone in the comments who will point out that some places pay really well, but in general, I wouldn't count on it. One big problem with anything related to tourism is that most work will be seasonal, and it can be somewhat difficult to find steady work year-round. And now it is time for a language check. Do service jobs typically require Spanish? Well, not necessarily. If you go to a hotel or restaurant in an area with many international tourists, I think you should be able to get by knowing only English. You're probably better off going for the jobs that require good English skills anyways, since you don't want to compete with the Spanish job seekers, as the unemployment level in the south of Spain is quite high. That being said, it will probably be easier to find a job if you also speak Spanish, but don't lose hope if you don't. How to find a job in the service sector. For these types of jobs, the best tool is to either walk around yourself and hand out your CV or contact info directly to the establishment, or count on word of mouth. Check different Facebook groups for posts, and don't be afraid to create a post asking about a job. Alright, moving on to the jobs that entail sitting in an office. In the south of Spain, there are quite a lot of call centers and general telemarketing companies that are run by foreigners. These offices typically require languages such as English, German, Dutch, French, Scandinavian languages, etc. And these are probably going to be your best chance of getting a job quickly, as they are A, almost always short-staffed, and B, in the need of foreigners, so you aren't competing with the locals over the jobs. I would even go out on a limb and say that if you know a language that is in high demand, such as Scandinavian, you will never be without a job. The most important thing to note about call centers, though, is that not all of them are super legit, so be sure to Google the founders or managers and perhaps ask around for some feedback from previous or current employees there. I'm saying this based on my own experience, as I have worked for some companies that conducted somewhat unethical business and or had a horrible working environment, and well, yeah, maybe I will make a video about this in the future. Alright, language check. Do call centers require Spanish? In general, the answer is a big no. Even team leader or management positions don't necessarily require Spanish, which is the big advantage for these jobs. How to find the jobs? Many call centers advertise on Facebook, but also sites like LinkedIn or Indeed.com can be useful. Okay, but maybe now you're thinking that you don't want to work for a call center. Then what? So, in general, as I have mentioned before, the thing you want to avoid is competing with Spanish applicants, simply because Spain has a well-educated, but for a large part or underemployed workforce. Therefore, regardless of your skill set, your best tool is your language skills, as this will set you apart from the rest. Malaga has a tech park in the area Campanillas, and here you will find large international companies such as Oracle. If you want to work for a reputable and serious organization, I would suggest having a look at the companies there, find them on LinkedIn, and see what types of jobs they have. Other jobs that might be worth mentioning are language teaching jobs, such as teaching English. You will find a variety of international and language schools in the area. In addition, many families want probably native language tutors for their kids, so you can also build a portfolio of families to create a full or part-time job that way around. If you work with manual labor as a contractor, for example, you can set up your own business, but as you know, it can take a while to get a good number of clients. However, if you do quality and specialized work, you can probably find a number of foreigners that will hire you. Okay, and now for the most important part, which has to do with contracts. First of all, you need to know if the company is hiring you as an employee or as what is called autonomo. Some companies, such as some of these foreign-run call centers, will hire you as an autonomo, which in this context means that you are somewhat of an external contractor. Companies will do this so that they can avoid paying your social security fee. If they just pay that to you instead, it might be fine, but in general, I would be a bit extra suspicious if they require you to become autonomo, and you need to know that you are not an employee then. I wouldn't say no thank you to a job only based on this, but I would ask some extra questions as to why they've chosen this model. In extension, you would also need an accountant to help you with taxes and such as autonomo, and this is an expense that you need to account for as well. But let's say that you are hired as an employee with a normal contract. Here you also need to make sure that the company is paying your social security fee, as you will otherwise either owe the tax authorities money or else you aren't covered by the social security system. If this all sounds a bit confusing at this point, that is completely understandable. I think the most important part is just to be very aware of the whole contract and pay space when it comes to employment. I've heard quite a few horror stories, and as a foreigner in a new country, it's not always super easy to figure out when something is off. And speaking of things that aren't super easy, in order to get a job in Spain in the first place, you need something called a NIA number, and I have partnered up with an awesome company called Bureaucracy, and they specialized in getting you set up in Spain. So if you want someone else to deal with all the paperwork for you, you can head down to the description where you will find a link that gives you 10% off their packages. You are also very welcome to follow me on Instagram if you want to see what I'm up to in Spain at NinaFreeGen. I also really want to know about your experience with jobs in Spain. So if you have already done some research on how to find a job, or if you've already worked in Spain, don't hesitate to leave your experience in the comments below, as I'm sure that your experience can serve as useful to other people who are also looking for jobs. Just as well, if you happen to have any leads or advice on how to find work here, don't hesitate to share. If you happen to work remotely or freelance, I can recommend the co-working space in Malaga called The Living Room, as this is an awesome place with a super nice and helpful community. If you want to support my channel, you are very welcome to subscribe, and I also use the website called Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.